What's going on, my people? It's your boy Kayman and I'm back with a brand new video. And in today's video, I'll be discussing which are the best differentials to own come game week 1. The assets were not many people talking about, who are very low owned, that will give you an edge to be able to win your mini league. So without further ado, let's dive in. So the first asset we're going to be talking about are the budget defenders. For example, the Diop, the West Ham defender, who's a new signing, by the way, plays the left wing back role. As you guys know, last year, Wan-Bissaka killed it when he played there. He's got a bunch of assists when he was bombing forward. But this year, it's actually quite the opposite, where you have Diop who likes to bomb forward instead of Wan-Bissaka and get those attacking returns. And in the preseason, we have seen that he's already got a bunch of assists and he looks really good on the eye test. And I do think he's an asset that not many people are talking about. There's some discussion on X, but not many people do own him. People are going for the likes of Tarkowski, the Murillo of the world, the Defcon monsters, but not the wing backs and pro fullbacks. But I do think there are some value there, considering the fact that he's 4.5 when you compare him to the Defcon monsters like Tarkowski and Murillo. So he's definitely going under the radar, and he also has really good fixture in game week 1 when he plays Sunderland, and you could definitely rotate him with other defenders like Van der Ven or Richards, or even say a Dogu, if you like, whichever defense that has a good rotation with. The next defender we're going to talk about is Decipher from Brighton. I'm not very high on Brighton defense, but he's also another fullback that's really, really good and loves to bomb forward. He also scored a goal in the preseason, so it could be another one that you could look at. But personally, I'm not very high on him, but he's quite low owned, so he's a bit of a differential as well, and that's going on the radar. We have a lot of 4.5 gems here, guys. Is Adam Aznar from Everton, who is the new signing, and he's a right wing back and / right back who's also quite attacking as well. And he is the replacement for Mykolenko. Unfortunately for us, Mykolenko picked up a groin injury in the preseason, so now that's his spot to lose, where he will play, I think, until Mykolenko is back. Say a groin injury could take up to 4 to 5 weeks. So for that period, you do get an Everton defender for 4.5 million, whereas Tarkowski, Branthwaite, even O'Brien, they're 5 to 5.5 million. You can save 1 million and get an Everton defender. That is absolutely no-brainer, guys. They also have really good fixture in game week 1 with Leeds, and follow on from that, they got Wolves and other really good fixtures. So I do think he's a pick that you can definitely use for at least in the early of the season that you can start with. And then last but not least is Richard from Palace, who's also another 4.5 million defender, another gem that's going under the radar. People are more focused on Gehi, people are more focused on Lacroix for Defcon, as well as Munoz, but he provides exceptional value at 4.5 million, who also was really good for Defcon last season. He was competing with Lacroix. He almost matched him with less games played, so I do think this guy could definitely do really well. He also has really good aerial threat, so he's a really good pick as long as you can bench him in game week 1. And a few of the tough fixtures early on, where they do play Villa and Chelsea, which you don't expect many clean sheets, but potentially you can get Defcon points. But I would recommend that you rotate him with another defender like Diop, or even say Adam Aznar, whoever rotates the best, and maybe bench him in the first couple of game weeks, because he does have quite a bit of a tough run. But after on from game week 4, he does have really good fixtures. And then last but not least, the defender that we're going to talk about is Nico Williams, coming up 5 million. He's a Forest defender. Arguably, they had the best season in terms of defense last year. They kept 13 clean sheets, and their defenders have obviously gone up in price. For example, the goalkeeper is now 5 million. Before, sales used to be 4.5. Now they have Milinkovic, who's also 5.5. Before, they used to be 4.5. You also have Murillo, 5.5. So these guys are quite expensive. Whereas Nico Williams comes in at 5 million, and he also offers you attacking threat move going forward, as well as the clean sheet, as well as Defcon. He actually hit Defcon 50% of the games that he played, especially when he played 90 minutes. And this man is a triple threat, and I think he's going on the radar because people are too focused on the likes of Milinkovic as well as Murillo, and he's not been talked about enough. I know there are rumours that Leif Davies potentially might be signing for Forest. If he does, that may diminish his appeal a bit, but it's still at 5 million. He's still a gem, and he could definitely do well come next season. Moving on to the midfielders, at first, we've got differential number 1 is Tielemans from Villa. Yes, Tielemans will come in at 6 million. Not many people are talking about him because everyone is too focused on the likes of Rodgers, Watkins, Marlon, this guy, that guy, Konza. But this man is going on the radar. He has pens potentially, 60% or 70% chance that he's going to have pens. He was also on some set pieces, and he's also really good for Defcon as well. Now, the fact that he's got so many risk to points and he only comes at 6 million, you could definitely smash it, and not many people are talking about him. He picked up a bunch of assists as well as goals in the preseason, and he's doing really well, and I think he's going under the radar. If you need a 6 million midfielder, he's your man, and I definitely don't think there's anyone else better at that price point in the midfield position. And the next midfielder we got is at 6.5 million, and that's your boy Enzo Fernandez. We also were he's capable of last season, especially when Palmer had that bad stretch for 10, 15 something games where he didn't return or score a single goal. And that's when Enzo Fernandez shined, especially when Palmer is being double man marked. And Enzo has that free role to be able to go in that 10 position and crush the box and score, as well as create chances. And at 6.5 million, I still think he's a really good option. He may not necessarily have that Defcon potential, But still, in terms of getting attacking threat in the midfield position, I do think he's been slept on, considering the fact that Chelsea has really good fixtures from game 1 to 12. And there are maybe some managers that want to back against Palmer and go with maybe Haaland and Salah draft. You can definitely look to cover the Chelsea attack with potentially Enzo Fernandez or even João Pedro if you do prefer with the striker. But personally, I think the minutes are more secured with Enzo Fernandez, so I definitely would recommend him at 6.5 million. And then the next midfielder that we have is Adingra from Sunderland, who's been balling out in the preseason. And as you guys know, in Brighton, he was also really cold. Like, he's a really good winger, really fast. He's really creative as well. And he may have some set piece share at Sunderland as well. He potentially could do really well. And I do think a lot of people are sleeping on him because they're going with the likes of Anderson. By the way, don't get me wrong, Anderson is really good for Defco and is probably with the best 5.5 million midfielder you can get. But if you want to go a bit differential, I do think Adingra has been slept on, who also does have the best fixture on, considering the fact that he's playing other promoted teams as well as Brentford and West Ham. So he does look to be really good on paper. And if you're looking for a 5.5 million asset, he's your man, or potentially Anderson as well, of course, which is a given. The next differential we have in midfield is your boy Gakpo, who comes in at 7.5 million. Diaz has now left the team, and now that's his spot to lose. There's only a rookie that's going to be his backup. So potentially Gakpo is nailed, I think, somewhat, at least for the first couple of games. Unless they sign Isak, then there definitely could be some competition. Maybe Wirtz goes to the left wing and then Szoboszlai plays the 10. But for now, Liverpool has not signed Isak, so I do think Gakpo has that left wing spot nailed. And he had a phenomenal preseason where he scored a bunch of goals, and he could definitely do well come game week 1 when they do play Bournemouth at home, which is a home fixture, by the way. And I do think he can ball out. And he's also someone being slept on. A lot of people are looking at Wirtz, of course, as well as Salah. And I don't blame them. They're both really, really good picks. But if you want to get a second attacker, I do think Gakpo is another differential that you can look at, who's also got, a nailed position within that team, considering the fact that there's so much competition. And last but not least, you got your boy Marmoush, because coming at 8.5 million. As you guys know, a lot of people are struggling to cover City attack. People are considering whether to go Haaland and Salah or whether to go with maybe Nori. A lot of people are looking at City assets, and we all know that City are no-go. But if there's any asset that I want to give a shout out to, and that I think a lot of people are sleeping on, is Marmoush, who comes in at 8.5 million. I know a lot of people don't like Pep and his rotation, Pep really, and I don't blame them. But if you want to cover City attack, I do think Marmoush is probably the best one, especially the fact that we did find out now, Foden obviously not fit enough to start the preseason game. I think they had one preseason game that he wasn't fit enough to start. So Marmoush potentially is the next best option, and his competition is Doku. So potentially he could definitely get that start in the first couple of games, especially if Foden's not ready. And you also have the news that Rodri also picked up a knock in the Club World Cup. So Rodri's also not there. There's 2 less midfielders to worry about. And that way, maybe I think Marmoush is somewhat nailed, but again, you can never know. But that's a bit of an outside shout. If you want to cover City, I do want to give a shout out to Marmoush, who I think is going under the radar as well. That'll be it for the midfields. Now moving on to the forwards. At first, we've got yourself. I know it's not really exactly a differential, but Chris Wood, I'm going to say, is a differential at the moment because a lot of people are not. Like, a lot of people are sleeping on him, especially in the X community. I know his ownership is quite high in terms of the overall game, which is 16%. But I do think amongst the engaged managers, a lot of managers sleeping on him, considering the fact that Forest not exactly had the greatest of preseason, where they did not score many goals. I don't think they scored a single goal, actually. So now Chris Wood is being slept on somewhat, which is, I understand. But again, when you're looking at those fixtures on the screen, how can you sleep on this man when they have played Brentford, when they play Burnley, when they play Sunderland in the first 6? These are juicy fixtures, and I do think Chris Wood could definitely get 3 goals in the first 6. And when there's lack of forward option, like, how can you turn down this man when he scored 20 goals last season? So I do think he's a really good option to start the season with. The second forward we got is Nilson from Bournemouth. I know the first fixture is really tough where they play Liverpool, and that might be misleading some people thinking, okay, oh no, that's a really tough fixture. It's not a really good pick. But if you can somehow bench him or even play him in that fixture, I think he's a really good pick after that, where he plays Tottenham, where he plays Wolves, Brighton. These are really good fixtures for the attackers. As much as Bournemouth have lost their key players in defence, in Kerkez, in Huijsen, in Zabani, I still think the attack is quite solid. I know it will still have impact on the team overall, but I think Nilson is not a terrible shout. I still think Iriola will figure something out, and where he could definitely utilize Nilson. Nilson also had a pretty decent preseason, to be honest. He scored a goal recently in one of the preseason games, so I think he could definitely do well. That's obviously going under the radar. And last but not least is a striker that I want to give an outside shout out to, is Berry from Everton. They have really good fixtures come game week 1. If he is somehow nailed to start, and I know there's a competition between him and Beto, and Beto hasn't looked too good in the preseason, and whereas Berry has come in and did look quite decent. So if he does somehow start at 6 million, he could be a really, really good option, especially when they play Leeds, Brighton, as well as Wolves in the first 3. It's really good fixtures for him. So it could definitely be the one that maybe a nice little gem that's going under the radar. So yeah, guys, that would be it. Let me know what you guys think of the differentials that I mentioned for both defense as well as midfield as well as forwards. I know there are other differentials I might have missed. For example, Arias who's another good shout, by the way, but he does have tough fixtures to start the season. You also have Sarr from Tottenham, who is also playing a bit of out of position, where he normally is a DM. He's playing the 10 position now that Maddison got injured. Maybe he's a good punt for the first couple of weeks, but if they do sign the 10, he may no longer be a good option. So yeah, guys, that'll be it for this video. Make sure to leave a comment down below. Make sure to subscribe, share this video, and I'm going to see you guys on the next one. Peace out.